Good morning. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and also good evening in different areas. Our team, we are welcome welcome back to the Global Virtual Exchange Summit. Please be noted that these sessions will be recorded and will be uploaded to the YouTube for participants and viewers in different time zones. And each speakers and also their team will have 15 minutes for the presentations. My name is Dr. Helen Gent from the HKBU. I'm honored to be the moderator for these panel sessions. Today, we have an exceptional lineup of experts joining us to explore the topics on the equality, access, and inclusion in global exchange. And we are very happy to have 3 speakers and their team in this panel, and all of them are from a diverse backgrounds. So please join me to send our warmest welcomes to the first speakers, Professor Alessandra Viviani, Department of International and Political Science, University of Siena, Italy. And that focus of the presentation is about the COIL and gender rights, a cross-cultural educational approach. So, Professor Alessandra, please.
Hey, good day, everyone. I'm presenting with Professor Alessandra, so I'm going to start today. Our topic for today is COIL and gender rights, a cross-cultural educational approach. So let me just quickly introduce us. Like you've heard, it's Professor Viviani and myself, Lize Mitchell. Professor Viviani is a professor of international law and gender discrimination at the University of Siena, and then I am originally from South Africa, from the University of Limpopo, but I'm currently working at Tilburg University in the Netherlands. Professor Viviani and I have been working together for about 5 years. We were part of a project called the Ikudu Project, which was a Erasmus-funded project between 10 universities. We had 5 from South Africa, as you can see at the top 5 logos, and then the bottom 5 was our European partners. We had 2 in the Netherlands, 1 in Belgium, 1 in Italy, and 1 in the UK. So the whole aim of the Ikudu project was we had various aims, but specifically the ones that Alessandra and I worked on was we tried to complete at least 55 COIL projects between the 10 universities during the project time. COVID definitely had an influence on that, so we got an extension on the project. And Alessandra and I did 2 COILs with our students. We're all familiar with COIL, but the model that we chose to use was 5 to 7 weeks of engagement. Students had to meet once a week. We had some teaching opportunities, but the COILs within the Ikudu project was very much focused on the aims of decolonization and intercultural exchange. And we also really advocated for multidisciplinary COIL projects. So the COIL that Alessandra and I did, we did this COIL twice, was on religious pluralism and female rights. So Alessandra is an expert on female rights and human rights. I also worked with human rights, and then why we brought pluralism in it is I taught the master students legal pluralism, which in South Africa is quite prominent, as we have various tribal legal systems. We have various religious legal systems, and then, of course, the constitutional legal system as well. So it's an amalgamation of a lot of legal systems. And Alessandra and I decided that it would be a good exposure for our students. So we had 10 South African master students and 20 Italian political science students. We followed a 6-week approach in which we had an intro week and a final presentation week. And the 4 weeks in between, we did 1 class a week, 2 by myself and 2 by Alessandra. And we really emphasized student engagement. We allowed for organic engagement between the students. So we didn't prescribe a specific way that they should be engaging. There were, of course, a lot of different issues we had to face: data connectivity. South Africa has an electricity grid problem. But ultimately, our focus was getting the students to really merge themselves in the other's experience. We did this also by having a collaborative task. So we told the students to choose any topic that relates to anything we've done in the classes. We really allowed them freedom. They discussed their topics with us beforehand, but the idea was for them to explore where they could find things that are similar between their 2 systems. We focused on religious pluralism specifically because in South Africa, we have a specific church in the area that the university is situated, the Zion Christian Church, which is one of the biggest churches in South Africa. And it's an interesting church because they have found a way to merge indigenous religious systems and the Catholic legal system. And then, of course, the Italian students many of them come from a Catholic background. So we really try to find a way for the students to see we have these religious roots. Many of our students were non-religious, but still raised within the culture of these religions. And then how does this align with human rights? And we try to focus a lot on the role of females within these systems. So we had a whole session that was simply about the female within the indigenous legal systems in South Africa, the tribal systems, and then the ZCC Church. And we had a similar session with the students within this Catholic environment, the modern society becoming more and more secular. How does your church influence how you see yourself and how human rights is approached? And does the church still have an impact on your country? These sessions were absolutely immersive for the students. And I think as females, a lot of them, and even the males in the class, they realized that for example, the leaders within both systems are predominantly male. So there were a lot of similarities and differences that we could explore within this. This is just a picture of some of our students in the icebreaker sessions. We started with exposing them to a little bit of information about the other, and then from there we put them into mixed groups, which they worked on. I'm going to hand over to Alessandra now to just reflect a bit on our experience.
Thank you, Lize, and thank you to the organizers for inviting us to share this experience, which both of us, myself and Lize, found very successful. And hopefully we are going to share some of our enthusiasm with you as well. So as Lize had anticipated, due to the fact that we both do research in the field of human rights and we share a legal perspective, we wanted our students to reflect together on complex realities and complex phenomena, such as religious and legal pluralism in South Africa, together with issues connected to gender discrimination, both in South Africa and in Italy. We wanted for them to reflect on the fact that societies and cultures are much more complicated than what we think they are, and that we need to go deep in knowing and understanding, appreciating, of course, cultural differences, but at the same time, cultural similarities in the very diverse communities in South Africa and in Italy. As educators, we had as our main aim, as Lize was saying, to have our students working together with a decolonized approach based on a common vision of what global citizenship education is about. So we as educators wanted to not necessarily prepare people to work in a more internationalized or global market. Of course, we know that certain competencies are very relevant in the global market, and it would be easier, it's going to be easier for students who have acquired certain competencies to find better jobs. But at the same time, this was not our focus. Our focus was more on training people with the vision of the UN Agenda on Sustainable Development and creating competencies towards social inclusion, which is at the core of the concept of sustainable development. Next slide, please, Lize. At the same time, as I was saying, decolonization was very relevant. So we do not see global citizenship education as something which is different or separated by a decolonizing process. So in our vision, decolonization is a process that is ongoing of undoing colonizing practices, and this holds true both, of course, in the context of South Africa, but at the same time in a Western context, such as the one in Italy, so in my own country. And again, we wanted to have our students reflecting on how certain educational approaches tend to reproduce a colonizing scheme, or if you want, tend to reproduce a very traditional cultural setting, which does not challenge existing imbalances of power within our societies. And for example, this is very true when it comes to gender discrimination, which in my own country, in Italy, but of course not only in Italy, is based on an imbalance of power existing in our societies between men and women. So we try to guide our students in analyzing existing societal challenges, and we wanted our students to reflect on how a contextualized knowledge, which takes into account the existing colonial practices, has an impact in our daily life. Next slide, please. So what we noticed during our 2 rounds of collaborative online learning, so virtual exchanges, that students were very eager to, very willing, very enthusiastic, let's say, to have an open space for dialogue on sensitive issues. So in fact, they did particularly appreciate the fact that we did not we gave them the freedom to choose whatever they wanted to discuss, even if they were topics that might be contested in our communities. A second element is that they were very interested in confronting existing biases. So they came out realizing how prejudice and biases are much more common than diverse. So at the end of the day, what they found in South Africa and in Italy was a lot more similar in terms of existing prejudice rather than different. And the third element, this flexibility that the virtual exchange, the COIL, gave us, the freedom for them to meet whenever they wanted to work together. This has been an extremely relevant factor for the success of our activities. As Lize Mary is going to tell us, the feedback we received from both Italian and South African students are extremely positive. The practice of coiling is a practice that shows the potential for transformative education. And this is something that we realized in both our COIL runs. So Lize Mary, if you want to conclude.
Yes, sure. So the last thing we want to conclude with is, as Alessandra mentioned, the student reactions. Now with my students, for example, I had feedback sessions and reflections as well, where we discussed it. And the main message that I got was the students, especially the females in my class, going, we thought as people from Africa, from South Africa, that our experience would be less so, or that we wouldn't be able to contribute to the same extent. And COIL really leveled the playing field. They realized that the issues that they have as females within their cultural religious systems are similar, very different, but very similar in many ways. And they could relate to each other in a positive way. And the students, they were very reticent in the beginning of the sessions. They, especially my students, they were almost insecure about what can we actually teach or share or about our lives. And ultimately, many of the students still have contact. They really formed relationships in this. We have some of the feedback the students gave us is things like, we are two different countries, but we have so much in common. We realized how tradition is still important, that different cultures are not a problem within such a setting. A message we got from a lot of students was, this is an experience I would want to do again, or every student should have this experience. Students saying it was formative, it was useful, that they actually developed intercultural skills. They were opened up to new realities, new understandings. They grew up, and that we got from a few students going, I can't believe I matured so much in a few weeks. But it's an opening of the expanse of their understanding. The student, for example, said, I would say that interaction between students and professors from different realities is a powerful mean to complete what a simple class can give, which is a powerful thing for students to say, saying it reduced emotional responses between them. It made their souls better, greater communication. So ultimately, the feedback we got, I think at the end of the day, made it worth it for us and made us go into a second year of doing the same project and looking at the ways in which we can really get students on the same page and realize that we can build them interculturally and their skills. So that's in a nutshell what Alessandra and I would like to share. I think there's a lot more around the COIL that we could share, but this is what we have time for today. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Alessandra and Lize, to highlight the importance about the cross-cultural education approach for promoting the gender equality and also addressing the gender discriminations in the higher educations. So now may I invite the next speakers, Dr. Luciana, Cabrini, Simões, Calvo, and her team, to present the topics on the virtual exchange as catalyst to connect the unconnected, focusing on a SDG project among the 5 universities. So, Dr. Luciana, please.
Okay.
Hello,
well,
I'm going to share the screen. I think that, or Ben, do you want to share the screen to start?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, please.
I want to be just sure that you are listening me.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, great. So let's start. Okay.
Yes, great. Okay, so please start.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Benameur Nehar from the University of Tlemcen in Algeria. I'm pleased to join you today along with my colleagues, Dr. Luciana Calvo from State University of Maringá from Brazil, and Dr. Tara Mathien from University of Florida, Dr. Nehar from Pennsylvania State University, USA, and Dr. George Matamoros from Pedagogica Nacional from Cisco Morazan University in Honduras. So to present our experience with the project titled Virtual Exchange as a catalyst to connect the unconnected, focusing on SDGs project among 5 universities that I mentioned. In terms of contextualization on using virtual exchange to connect students with one another around the sustainable development goals, virtual exchange is an inclusive way to connect folks from all around the world, focusing on international intercultural interaction through online collaboration and discussion. So virtual exchange programs have fantastic potential to build global understanding and to build global understanding and collaboration amongst universities level students across the globe. This presentation is going to focus on a virtual exchange project between 5 universities from different countries that I mentioned before, promoting university students towards knowing and understanding the UN Sustainable Development Goals. By utilizing online communications, students on different continents were able to work together on an SDG project, sharing perspective and understanding from their own cultural context and geographical location. The virtual exchange was an important point of connection for universities and students in part of the world that may not have communicated previously. Our work together in supporting global development goals, our contribution will discuss the objectives, designs, outcomes, and success and failure of participating in this meaningful cross-border virtual exchange experience in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So this presentation aims to present the finding from a virtual exchange experience that incorporated the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal and collaborated with a diverse group. The experience connects individuals from a discretely connected area, including difference within and across various academic disciplines, interest area, educational preparation program, and levels accounting to work with professor, graduate student, and undergraduate student. So many players collaborated with each other to develop this experience. We will provide a description of the overall process of developing this project, focused on the SDGs that blends groups and made connection possible. In particular, we will summarize the strategy, concurrent session, and technology used to embed collaboration within groups of participants. So finally, we will feature the primary outcomes of working with such a range of actors on these global goals. In addition, we will also provide recommendation for continued progression towards interactive SDG-based learning experience, which break down boundaries and encourage experience which break down boundaries and encourage inclusion in learning and problem solving. The collaboration worked together, we will showcase all of this process and outcomes of these fields based on project together on one presentation. In terms of significance of SDGs, so the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals have the potential to enhance knowledge of our collective goals among learners in virtual exchange and aid in achieving the 2030 Agenda. So universities around the world now include SDGs into syllabi to enhance knowledge and skills level in order for students to contribute and help solve global challenges and provide sustainable development both nationally and internationally. Virtual exchange support across cultural knowledge and understanding about large-scale issues using SDGs as framework and faster collaborative experience that connect learners beyond located experience in classrooms. These dynamic tools empowers virtual exchange to cultivate collaborative environments for learning about SDGs and our significance as we aim toward a more sustainable future. And now I'm giving the floor for my colleague, Dr. Luciana, for the rest of our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. In the next slide, I'm going to present how we organized the V project among these 5 universities. So as Dr. Benameur explained before, the V project was developed by professors from different backgrounds and universities, 2 in the US, 1 in Brazil, another 1 in Honduras, and another 1 in Algeria. Only for the students of the Penn State University that it was part and incorporated in the classes of the course Civic and Community Engagement. For the participants from the other 4 universities, it was an outreach activity. The V project was developed from March to April 2024 with both synchronous and asynchronous interactions. And the platform that we used to organize all the activities was Google Classroom. Then in the next slide, we're gonna provide an overview of the tasks students developed and the platform we used for this virtual exchange. In the first week, students got to know each other, introducing themselves at Padlet, and they also read texts, watched videos, and took a quiz on the topic of the project, the SDGs. These activities were important because they prepared the students for the first synchronous interactions that they would have in the following week. Then in the second week, there was a talk of a guest speaker, right? Dr. Benameur was our guest speaker there. After listening to this talk, the students had some time to interact and talk about the lecture in breakout rooms. Then in the third week, they developed some asynchronous tasks again. They read texts and watched videos on some attitudes or practical ways to save the planet. Then in the Google Classroom, they answered the following question. What can you do, or what is your country doing to reach the UN SDG by 2030? Then in the fourth week, that it was the last week, they interacted again in breakout rooms, expanding and adding other perspectives to what they wrote in the Google Classroom discussion the week before. Then in this week, as an asynchronous activity, they had to write a narrative, a final narrative, highlighting one aspect that most called their attention in the development of the virtual exchange project. In the next slide, you can find some examples of the session activities. Then can you please go to the next slide? Well, I'm going to present here, I think. Problem just a minute.
We can see the share screen now.
Yeah, okay. So these are some examples of the session activities the students had to develop. For example, in the first one, we had this world map at Padlet, and then they had to post brand him explaining where they are from, what they like doing and everything related to themselves. And then in pink, they should just explain, they should mention one place in the world that they would like to visit one day. In the second example, it is one of the slides of the guest speaker. And then in the third example, we had the forum discussion at Google Classroom.
All right, so I will share some of the outcomes of our project. So as my colleagues have discussed already, the majority of the participants in this project participated as freely chosen folks that decided that they wanted to interact with a virtual exchange. One of the groups of students, as Luciana already shared, was taking it for a course, but the rest of us had openly invited staff, faculty, and students in both the undergraduate and graduate level in our universities to share. So we invited and had that open invitation. Participants, therefore, were from various ranges of fields of knowledge. So we had really rich transdisciplinary representation and connections and conversations about the focus of the project related to the Sustainable Development Goals. The format really fostered inclusion of international and intercultural competencies in both curricular and co-curricular activities. So like we said, there were pieces that were related to curriculum and content for some of our participants. And for others, they were able to really kind of make wide connections based on the reasons in which that motivated them to participate in the program, whether it was to enhance their own knowledge and skills, to connect with others, or to see what this experience would be about because they had never had an opportunity for this type of exposure. And it also fostered global awareness and reflection because of the focus on the SDGs. So the students were able to make not only global connections, but also local connections to topics that were important to them, and also make connections that they were related to the others across the globe that also had similar interests and what they felt was a priority and interest for the SDGs. On the next slide, we share a bit more about some of the outcomes that presented themselves also as a challenge. So despite the potential for this project to be open and inclusive of folks to be able to enter as they are interested and as they could based on their schedule and their interest, it also presented a challenge. There were many students, as you might expect, that dropped out of the program or came in and out very, very sporadically, especially for the outreach portions. Another challenge was because of the limited nature of participation and consistency, we should say, the ability to make connections outside of or after the project was pretty limited. So in a traditional format of a virtual exchange, you would typically have facilitation by a professor or the coordinators to kind of guide some of those interactions to connect students afterward. And because of the nature of this being so open and freely chosen, that aspect was really not present in this ability as much as we would have liked. So in the next slide, we can talk a bit about what we learned and how might we include some of those challenges and then provide some of those outcomes as a catalyst for improving this in the future. So some of the pieces would be providing small asynchronous group work. So instead of that large group kind of participating together, put them in smaller groups together so that they can interact, make connections and relationships, and establish safer or more comfortable spaces for them to use their language of choice or of comfort level. Organizing and planning involving people outside of higher education, so not just academics like we were in this project, but perhaps getting folks from society, non-charitable organizations, things like that to just kind of give more inclusiveness. and adding a practical or action component. So not just talking about the SDGs, but what can we do then as an action item that with what we have learned and what we're interested in. So just very quick recommendations for those projects that we did and what we learned. And on the next slide, we've got our references that if anyone is interested in some of that information, and we would be happy to talk more about what we have learned and connect with the ability to make virtual exchange more inclusive and open access to more people to be participating. So thank you so much for listening and participating. And this is our information. If anyone is interested in reaching out, we'd be happy to share more.
Thank you very much for your insightful presentations. In terms of time sold, may I introduce the last speakers, Mr. SUBHASH GUPTA. He is from the Department of Commerce. Dr. Hyacinth Kaur, Vanvishwa Vidyalaya Saiga, India. And his topic will be focused on evaluation of international scholarships and exchange programs in enhancing global workforce diversity. So may I invite Mr. SUBHASH?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, so please share your screen.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sharing my slides.
But we cannot see now. There may be some delay. Yeah, we can see it.
Oh, so hello everyone. This is SUBHASH GUPTA, Research Scholar, Department of Commerce, Dr. Harishin Gaur Vidyalaya Sagar, Madhya Pradesh, India. I'm here to present my topic on evaluation of international scholarship and exchange program in enhancing global workforce diversity. As in the modern era of globalization, the significance of workforce diversity has become increasingly important. Organizations around the world recognize that a diverse workforce is not just a matter of social responsibility, but also a crucial factor in diverting innovation, creativity, and competitive advantage. Diversity in the workplace, encompassing variation in ethnicity, cultural, language, educational background, enables companies to tap into a broader range of perspectives and ideas, fostering an environment that encourages problem-solving skill and adaptability. As businesses are expanding their operations across borders, the demand for employees who possess global competencies such as cultural intelligence, language skills, and international experience has grown significantly. These competencies are essential for navigating the complexity of the global marketplace and managing multicultural team effectively. In this context, international scholarship and exchange program has emerged as vital tool for cultivating a diverse and globally competent workforce. As international scholarship and exchange programs are designed to promote academic, cultural, and professional exchange between countries, providing participants the opportunity to grab, study, work, conduct, and research for an environment. These programs, such as Fulbright,
Oh, sorry, there may be some unstable connections at his side. So let us wait for a few minutes. So Evans, can you help us? I saw him. Hi, Mr. Sabha. Yeah. Please unmute yourself.
Sorry for inconvenience, as there's an internet issue here. Okay, this research paper aims to evaluate the effectiveness of international scholarship and exchange program in enhancing global workforce diversity. It explores the mechanism through which the program contributes to diversify, including the development of cross-cultural competencies, the enhancement of employability, and the creation of inclusive organizational culture. By examining the long-term impact of these programs on participants and their career, this study seeks to provide insights into how such initiatives can be leveraged to promote workforce diversity on the global scale, for which I have taken 4 objectives. First objective is to assess the contribution of international scholarship program and exchange to global workforce diversity. The next one is to evaluate the impact of international scholarship and exchange programs on skill development and employability. Next one, to investigate the long-term effect of international scholarship programs and exchange on organizational diversity. And then last one is to identify and analyze challenges and give on comment on it. I have followed research methodology. Research design includes descriptive and analytical design. Whole study is based on secondary data published by research academician, reports, government and international organization publication, employment report, metrics, and previous meta-analysis. Data has been collected from these sources, and data have analyzed over descriptive statistics, and qualitative data has been analyzed for the theme identification. Key decision will include contribution to the global workforce diversity, impact on skill development and employability, long-term effect on organizational diversity, and challenges and areas for improvement. All the data which I will present here are collected from the various sources, including their citation and source mention. Here, contribution of scholarship program to global workforce diversity. Here data represent that a significant majority of 65% people who avail scholarship programs of alumni are employed in MNCs, highlighting the program effectiveness and fostering global career opportunities. The relatively low percentage, approximately 22% of participants belonging to low-income countries, suggest a gap of accessibility, indicating the need for targeting efforts to include uninterrupted groups. Geographic mobility. Alumni reported high level of geographical mobility, with 45% of respondents indicating that they had worked in more than one country since completing their program, as it indicates that as people are getting more scholarship programs, are able to work in multinational companies as well as more countries. The next theme is diversity metrics in organization employment program alumni. Analysis shows that the diversity index of companies employing these alumni was on an average 20% higher than the companies which are not giving chance to these people who have availed international scholarship programs, who have gained knowledge from international reputed universities. This scale presented from 0 to 1, which shows the higher diversity, 0.8, approx 80%, which is very good. Representation of women. Here, higher representation of women are in leadership role, approx 35% in organization employing alumni, suggesting that these programs may help address and fulfill gender gap in leadership role. And more important, the retention rate of diverse employees is higher, 80% in organization with alumni, indicating that more diverse and inclusive environment lead to better employment retention, as more growth chances are there available for the people of international scholarship benefited people. The research outcome shows that, as data shows, strong correlation between participation in international scholarship and exchange program and enhanced of global workforce diversity. Participants who have completed these programs are more likely to work in culturally diverse environment and occupy higher roles, such as managerial role in different MNCs. The next objective was impact on skill development and employability in the data source of United Nations Conference of and many other institutions of Indian Institute, NABARD, that career progression, a significant portion of 68% of the alumni reported that participation in these programs positively impacted their career progression, leading to better job prospects and faster career advancement. With 54% of alumni securing promotion within 5 years and 65% employed in MNCs, the data indicate that these programs significantly enhance employability and career growth. These findings suggest that international scholarship and exchange programs equip participants with skills that are highly valued in the global job market, thereby enhancing their employability and career prospects is important. The next theme is skill development and career outcome of alumni. Here are some data which are derived from various reports and represent that high rate of skill acquisition among alumni, with 78% reported that they have gained better language and language command over others, and 82% have increased their cultural competence. Career advancement is evident, with 68% of alumni indicating a positive impact on their career and more than half receiving promotion within 5 years of completion of the program. This study shows that the development of problem solving, critical thinking, and leadership skill was reported by a substantial portion of alumni, approximately 74% and 65% respectively, demonstrating the impact of these programs on people availing the services. The next objective is effect of scholarship program on long-term basis on organizational diversity. Here, the theme is organizational impact on hiring program alumni. Data shows that employment program alumni shows a significant increase in diversity-related metrics, including a 20% higher diverse index, 50% higher employment satisfaction, and 12% increase in innovation score over a 5-year period. Alumni are actively contributing to diverse initiatives, with 70% of organization report alumni-led effort, demonstrating the long-term impact of these programs. The retention rate is also growing with the passage of time. Next theme is organizational performance and diversity metrics over time. Here, pre and post data are presented. Diversity index improvement, employment retention increased from 70% to 80%, which shows that more diverse and inclusive workplace influence alumni contribute to higher retention rate. Innovation and revenue growth is also important, as shows innovation index improved from 0.5 to 0.7 as its growth trend, the growth rate is 20%. Annual growth rate increased from 4% to 6%, indicating that greater diversity fostering by alumni enhanced organizational innovation and financial performance. Employee satisfaction can also be seen as diversify and inclusive initiative rose from 65 to 85%, demonstrating led by alumni have positively impact on overall workplace performance and workplace culture. The next objective was to identify challenges faced by the people who are availing international scholarships and working on diverse fields. As common challenges faced by the participants in international scholarship and exchange program, data shows that 65% people faced financial constraint, as the scholarship was not sufficient. It was expensed by living expenses, travel, and unforeseen expenditure that scholarship may not fully recovered. Cultural adjustment, more than 50% people shows their challenge was related to culture adjustment. As people visit more countries, they are unable to accept their culture. Language barrier was also a reason, as some of are comfortable with international languages, but some are not comfortable. As if we take the example of Chinese language, Japanese language, most of the people are unable to understand because of lack of education in their countries. Discrimination was also a reason, as 35% of participants encountered discrimination or social exclusion, which negatively impacted their experience and integration into the host communities. It can be seen in many developed countries that below developed countries, people are treated as inferior in developed countries. Impact of challenges on completion and participants. So approx 20% people of these program availing left out, called dropped out these programs. Mental health issues also faced by some participants, which is approximately 30%. Financial support, 40% of participants required additional financial support, underscoring the inadequacy of some scholarship in covering all necessary expenses. Overall satisfaction can be seen. Approximately 35% of participants reported a lowered overall satisfaction with their program experience, which may affect the perceived value and long-term benefit of participants. Data highlight that several significant challenges faced by participants in international scholarship and exchange program, and it can be seen as we have discussed earlier. Significance of the study. For policymakers and educational institutes, these findings highlights the importance of continuing these type of programs to invest in and expand international scholarship and exchange program. By addressing the challenges identified in this study, particularly financial and cultural barriers, these programs can be made more accessible and effective, ensuring that a broader range of individuals that can be seen as an opportunity they provide. It can also benefit given to the organization that they study underscore the value of hiring and supporting alumni of these programs as a part of their diversity. Future research is also needed to explore the impact in different cultural and organizational contexts. Longitudinal studies that track the career trajectories of program alumni and their contribution to organizational diversity over the time, it would be particularly beneficial. In conclusion, I would like to say that this study highlights the significant role of international scholarship and exchange program in enhancing global workforce diversity, while also shedding light on the challenges faced by participants. These programs foster diversity by enabling cross-cultural exposure, skill development, language development, command, leadership in diversity initiative. However, participants faces some financial constraints, discrimination, but these can be avoided by adopting some major changes. Despite these challenges, the long-term benefit include improved organizational diversity and innovation, overweight the difficulties encountered by these people. Addressing these challenges through better support system, inclusive policy, adequate financial assistance can further amplify the positive impact of the program. These are the some sources from where I have taken the data. These are the reports are national and international levels. Thank you, and I welcome suggestions and any comment.
Thank you, Mr. Subhash, for your exciting highlight. We will now open the floor for the question and answer sessions. So please feel free to share your questions with us. If you would like to ask questions, please raise your virtual hands if you have any questions, or you can also type your questions in the chat room. So if you are just thinking, may I ask the first questions from Dr. Alessandra's teams. So first of all, thanks a lot for your excellent presentation. Because in your activities, actually you will discuss about some issues regarding to the gender discriminations and also the gender rights. So sometimes it may be a little bit sensitive to the students. So how can you and also your team to ensure the students, they feel safe to share about their views, their ideas, their stories, and also their culture to the others?
Thank you, Dr. Chiang, for your question. I think that let's say we started with introductory lectures, both myself and Lize Mary. We had 2 lectures each on the Italian European situation and on the South African one. And I think we tried to shape the discussion in a way that was considered, let's say, as I'm not going to say neutral, but focusing on legal aspects and cultural aspects without, let's say, taking a position of this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. So I think that the fact that we try to guide the debate on the reality and on certain aspects of the topics was useful for the students to feel safe. And both myself and Liz Mary shared our personal views. So making it sure for the students that they understood that the space was a safe space to share what the person thinks without any judgment. And this also relates to what we were saying before in the chat about grading and non-grading. We did not grade the merits of the debate because we wanted it to be as much as possible a non-judgmental space so that students could feel free to express themselves and their opinions without the fear of a specific mark. And on the other hand, I suppose that the fact that the students did discuss things among themselves in their mixed groups outside the formal setting of the classroom was also beneficial in terms of creating a safe space.
Yeah, because in Hong Kong, actually, when we are discussing something that is very sensitive to those students, and everyone, they will keep silent, and then it is very difficult for us to motivate them. So that we are still considering how we can provide a safe place for them to for the discussions, because sometimes they may fear the others, they may heard about their stories, and then they may post in the IG, the Facebook, or in somewhere else, so that they may have a little bit fear about that. Yeah. So, is there any questions from all of you? If no, okay, so it is my turn again. So I have another questions for Ben, Luciana, and also Tara's teams, because we have 7 SDG goals. And also, I believe you allow the students to select the area that they would like to tackle it with. So if the grouping is very diverse in terms of the numbers and also the topics, how could your team manage it? Because for me, I'm working in the nursing department. Actually, we have 100 students in a class, so that them may be a little bit diverse. And then some of them, they may want to do the SDG goal 4, and some of them, they may focus on 7. So how can we manage of it?
Okay, is there anyone? Luciana or may I speak?
You can start and then we add.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, 17 goals. It's very immense and various topics for our students to participate. We mainly choose one or two topics from goals from the 17 SDGs, like, for example, the energy. So affordable energy was for us a great topic for the students, because we know that all are using energy, and energy is really very important for us if we can manage it correctly, so it can it can have a positive impact in our environment and in our economy, also in our society. So that's why we choose the energy as like the main goals for a student to talk. But the discussion was open for the others goals, of course, if students or teacher want to talk about it further. So this is yeah, this is like the first experience for our teams and our students, and later we can also maybe analyze and propose another version of our experience for our students to talk about other goals related to the SDGs. Yeah.
I see. So is there
Just
any
to-
yeah?
I'm sorry, just to add, besides explaining about this specific SDG, that it was Dr. Benameur talk as a guest speaker in the first synchronous session. We also provided some texts to give an overview on the SDG and to give some more detailed information about it, right? So we started with some contextualization on the topic, general information about it. Then in the second session, the students got involved in this talk by Dr. Benameur, and he focused on energy. And then in the other sessions and the other tasks, we focused on practical actions, on some kind of follow-up that we could do to save the planet, but thinking about the SDG in a general way.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So is there any other questions that you would like to know? If no, I have my last questions. So because we can see that all of the speakers try to use of different strategies or focus on the SDG or focus on the gender discrimination, or just like the Indians that will focus on the workforce. So in the context of the virtual exchange projects, which aims to foster a cross-cultural understanding and collaboration among the students from different countries. And it is important to explore how the initiative, not only to facilitate some of the immediate connections, but to nurture the lasting relationship and also the ongoing discussions among the participants. So how can we to sustain this kind of the initiative after the COIL have been completed? So how can we maintain of these relationships and also the effectiveness?
Can I start?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. What I can notice by these VEs, virtual exchange or COIL, that I participated, but also from the experience I had with some other initiatives, it is that this sustainable relationship, we can see this among the professors, because after the VE project, we write papers, we go to conferences to present, we have some other work like follow-up to provide certificate for the students or grade, their participation and everything. But I think it is a challenge for us to motivate the students to continue the partnership. I think it is common for professors, but it is something that I need, talking about myself, to motivate and think about options for the students to continue their relationship after the VE project.
Because I think that it is quite important, because actually they do something good at their course, but actually they can sustain all those projects when they are being graduate. And also just like the SDG, they may also go to the NGOs and also to the different social service to help to develop those activities. So that I think that it is great to do that. So I think that it is quite late in some area, I know that. So we may approach to the end of our sessions. So I would like to take this moment to thank all of the speakers to share about your invariables insight and also experience with us to date. And I appreciate everyone's participations. And also I hope you enjoyed the upcoming sessions of the Summit. So we would like to see you tomorrow. Okay, so see you tomorrow. And then I think that we can disclose these sessions. So thank you and bye-bye.